Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode on J of All Trades. Today I'm standing in my closet again and I'm ready to start the second part of this project behind me here. Now on my right, this is a part of the closet that I recently rebuilt because one section completely collapsed. Here is the first section of closet that I rebuilt, and I'm going to be including a link in the description for that video so you can see exactly how I built out this custom made closet here. Now I'm ready to rebuild this part of the closet, and in the back here you're going to see a section that has completely collapsed, and I have already removed some of the things that were collapsed here, and we're going to repair that wall in the back. Then I'm going to install two closet rods here, one at the bottom and then one at the top, and that'll be used to hang clothes. All right guys, so step one, remove all the clothing out of here. Now that we've gotten all the clothing out of here, we can have a better look of exactly how this space looks. And here in the back, you can see that it needs quite a bit of work and repair on the wall. Removing all this metal framing was pretty straightforward. All I had to do was remove screws in the front and then some clips in the back, and I was able to take out each hanger. Now that I've gotten everything out of the way, I'm going to use this knife to prep the wall for repair. You really want to spend some time here and just scrape off everything that's coming off against the wall. Because to make this a proper repair, we're going to need to get everything nice and flat. To start these repairs, we're going to be using some joint compound, and we're going to start filling in these holes. You'll want to use the knife to really force the compound in there, and you're going to want to make this as flat as possible. Once this dries, it's actually going to suck in a little bit, and then you're going to put a second coat before you sand. For this part of the repair where you have joints, you're going to want to put a little thin layer of compound all over, because this will allow the tape that I'll be using to adhere properly to this joint. I'll also be able to fill in any cracks, and this will create a better repair. The type of tape that I'll be using today is mesh compound tape, and this is a fiberglass mesh, and it actually makes it really good for high moisture areas like kitchens or bathrooms, but I just like using it because it adheres very well. With this type of tape, you don't necessarily need to pre-coat with the compound, but I like to do it anyway just so I can make everything nice and tight. Before I continue with my wall repairs, I'm going to install a recessed light on the ceiling here, and I'll be using this hole saw with this dust catcher, and this thing is great. It actually is a 4 1/4 inch hole saw. And you'll notice it has that plastic around it to catch the dust. This is made for 4-inch recessed lights. I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to check it out. I think it was worth every penny because it really does a great job of dust control. And another plus is you don't have to use a template. So your 4-inch holes will come out perfect every single time. And best of all, you won't have dust all over your floor. Now I could just dump all of this dust in a garbage bag. I have an attic right above me, and so I can feed my electric all the way up there and be able to wire everything up there to the switch, and I'll be able to wire up my lights here. This is the light fixture that I'll be using, and it's a brand called Halo. I'll include a link in the description if you guys want to go out there and check it out. It's a 4-inch recessed light. It's equivalent to a 60-watt bulb, and it has some very useful features that I'll go through in a little bit, but this is what you get in the box. It comes with the electric box, which is small and compact and can pretty much fit anywhere. And inside the box, it has these easy to use wiring connectors, and you could just simply strip your wire and just stick it right in there, and you have no wire nuts that you need to hook up here. Another great feature is that it's easy to connect and disconnect the light fixture from the box by simply just opening here and just disconnecting it right here at one connection. I could see this being useful if you have a bad fixture and you just want to swap one out, and that makes it really easy. Here on the side of the box, there's a little switch here that allows you to choose between 5 different temperatures. And another little tiny switch allows you to choose between the amount of lumens that you want. Let's get this thing connected and get some lighting in this part of the closet. As you can see, these push connectors make my life a lot easier. Once everything is all wired up, you can just stick it right in the box and close your box up and just stuff it right into the ceiling. Now you can simply just connect this light fixture using this one connector here. Then you'll use these spring-loaded tabs on the side of the wafer to just hook into the ceiling. And remember to clear out any dust or debris. And now we have our light fixture in there. Flip the switch and now we have light. Now that I have more lighting in this area, I'm able to see what I'm sanding. And once the wall is nice and smooth, I slapped a nice coat of paint on here to transform the entire look of this area. It's absolutely amazing what a coat of paint will do to an area. One of the hardest things when working in tight spaces like this and painting is that you really have to try super hard not to get paint on your clothes. As you can see here, my back is almost touching the wall right behind me. And when I'm bending, I'm also barely just missing that wall there. So guess I got lucky. These light fixtures also make it very easy to paint a ceiling because you can just pull them right out. And then once the paint is dry, you can reinstall them. Here are some metal pole sockets that I'll be using for the closet. And I'll include a link in the description if you guys want to go out there and check it out. And these are heavy duty pole sockets. I'll be putting a closet rod straight across the top here, as well as one right below it. And here you can actually see that it's not a very wide space here between these two walls. These walls are about 3 feet apart, and closet rods will be going straight across into those sockets. Once you measure out the distance of where you want these to be, you'll make marks and then drill holes to put in your anchors. If you try to drill holes and you hit a stud, you can just drive a screw directly into it. And for the bottom hole on each socket, I'll be using toggle bolts, and this toggle bolt will be going directly here instead of a regular anchor. And this will allow it to have more strength and be able to hold a lot more weight. So I'll demonstrate how to install one of these toggle bolts. You'll put this metal piece straight in and then twist it so it aligns behind the wall. Then you'll pull on this draw strap here and get it nice and tight. And once it gets tighter and you can't go anymore, you'll break this plastic piece off and then you'll be able to put a bolt right into it. You'll want to start out with the toggle bolt first to make sure that's secure. And you don't want to tighten it down as yet. You just want to get it started by hand. And then you'll start the other screws into the anchors. Now you can measure the length of the closet rod, and we're going to cut the closet rod to length. Here is a heavy duty closet rod by Everbuilt, and I'll include a link in the description for you guys. And to cut it, I'm using a bandsaw by Milwaukee. And I've got to say, this is one of my most favorite tools to use because it's so versatile and I use it to cut many different things. And it cuts closet rods like butter. So once you have your distance marked out, you're going to use the rod in place with a level, and you're going to slide the other side of the socket here and line it up. And I'm going to double check with the level to make sure that the rod is indeed straight. And here again, it won't hurt to check your distance from your wall because you don't want your clothes sliding over to one side. Now it's time to put in our first closet rod, and we're going to slide it into these sockets. And now we're just going to rinse and repeat to put a second one right below. Here I'm slipping in the second closet rod into the sockets right below. And now I've given it enough space in between so I can hang full lengths of shirts. Let's put it to the test. Here you can see I have just enough clearance off the floor. And also I have enough clearance right above the rod. Here I'm going to be installing a cabinet with shelving, and in the corner here you can see that there's a heating pipe that goes over to a baseboard heater in the next room. So I'll just have to be extra careful not to damage that piping. Here I'm making a mark to remove this section of baseboard here to make space for the frame that I'll be building for the cabinet. I'm going to be using this oscillating tool to remove this section, and this is made by Milwaukee. I'll include a link for this tool in the description because this thing is awesome. It's really good with plunge cuts like this. I just had to be extra careful here, and I pried it over at the left first just to avoid getting too close to the piping. In order to build a raised platform for the cabinet that I'll be building, I will need to remove a section of this rug here in order for it to sit nice and flat. Here I'm just using a straight edge against this level to help me to cut nice and straight. Now I can see the subfloor, and I'm going to be removing these strips here for the carpet to make space for the platform that I'll be building. One thing you want to make sure is that you want to remove any obstruction that will potentially hinder anything from sitting flat here. And once that's done, just give it a good vacuum and remove all the debris. Today I'll be using 2x4 to create the platform. I'll start out by building two L-shaped frames here, and I'll just use this clamp to help me to keep it together first. And here you can see everything is all lined up. In order to join these two pieces, I'll be using a Ryobi 21-degree framing nailer, and this thing works really well with framing. I'll include a link in the description so you guys can check it out if you'd like. And here it is. Everything is all solid and well put together here. Then I repeated this step to make a second piece for the other side, and I actually put this right in front of the pipe, as you can see, so I don't interfere with anything with the piping. And then I'll use the framing nailer here to secure it to the floor. I like to make sure I do a couple measurements here to make sure that I am in the right spot, and then I continue on. These nails do such a good job of securing it that it's a real pain to remove them. Here I built a couple other pieces with 2x4s, and I just basically pushed them into position here, and then I secured them straight to the floor as well with the framing nailer. If these are a little tight, you can also use a little hammer to just tap them in place, but this time around I didn't have to do that. I also secured the two ends with the framing nailer as well. This is a look at the platform after I was finished building it. I'll be building a cabinet to sit right on top of this, so it'll have a raised look, and I'm just gonna double check the level here, and all is looking well. So once I put the cabinet on there, I know it'll sit level. In order to give this some more stability, I'm clamping these two pieces here, and I'm just gonna be squeezing this together, drilling a hole here, and then I'll drive a 3-inch screw straight in so these two pieces of wood can join together. I'm also going to be driving a screw in at the front as well, because of these two corners the framing nailer is not able to fit in order to drive a nail straight through. And we want to make sure that this platform is as solid as it can be, because we're going to be building a solid wood cabinet, and those tend to be heavy. To build my cabinet, I'm going to be using 3/4 inch furniture grade plywood. They are a bit pricier, but they make very good looking cabinets. It's really challenging to rip full sheets of plywood, so I set up a work table right behind my table saw so I could just slide the sheet right onto the table. When you're doing this, you really want to take your time and just let the saw do its job. You don't really want to force this through. And getting everything all ripped down to size is pretty much the hardest part of building this cabinet. And then once you get everything ripped, you can now start building your shelves for the cabinet. I really like using a table saw to do these cuts because you can do repetitive cuts back to back without having to make any adjustments or measuring. I could just set it once and continue to cut 5 different shelves back to back without any problems. Once I had all the pieces for my cabinet cut, I'm going to be staining the inside of my cabinets. And the first thing I want to show you guys is this pre-stain that you put on before you actually use the stain. This is a wood conditioner and it allows the stain to be evenly absorbed into the wood. And here is a stain that I'll be using, and it's by the same company, Minwax, and it's called Simply White. And I'll be including a link in the description for these two products in case you want to check it out. To apply the pre-stain, I'll be using this brush here. You'll simply soak it right into the pre-stain and apply it right onto the wood. Before you apply this pre-stain, you want to make sure that the wood is free of debris and dust. To get the best possible results, you'll want to go in the direction of the wood grain. This will help it to absorb much better. Once you pre-stain everything, you'll leave it sitting there for 5 to 15 minutes, and then you'll take a clean cloth and wipe off any excess off of your pieces. Now you can apply the stain right on top with the same method and let that sit for 5 to 15 minutes as well, and then you'll be able to wipe off any excess with a clean cloth. For the inside of this cabinet, I want to go with a white oak look. And so once I wipe this off, you're going to start seeing the wood grain again, and it's going to take on that white oak look that I'm looking for. Now that the excess is wiped off, I'm going to leave this to dry, and then I'll come back and we'll be able to put this together. Here's a look at this piece when it's fully dry, and here you can see that it has a really nice finish to it, and I'm really happy about still being able to see that beautiful wood grain. Now it's time to put this cabinet together. Here I'm using a pocket hole jig, and this is going to help me to join my pieces together very easily and give me really nice, tight, secure joints. Unfortunately, this bit that I'm using is a little bit dull, which can potentially cause some rough holes. But anyhow, if you guys want to check this out, I'm going to include a link in the description so you can check this out if you'd like. I'm going to keep going with this bit because I'll be able to clean out any roughness with sandpaper later on. What's great about using a pocket hole jig is that you can replicate holes as many times as you want in the same spots. And as you can see, some of those holes look a little rough, but I'll be able to clean it up with this orbital sander here. And all I have to do is just give it a few passes and it's going to start cleaning up those holes nicely. And here you can see I got rid of quite a bit of mess there. And here is the finished side, which still looks good. And here is the bottom part of the shelf. And these holes are looking nice and clean. Here is the entire back piece of the cabinet. And I'll be making holes all along the back part of it to secure into the side pieces. Now the back piece is all set to go. I'm going to be pre-drilling some holes at the front part of the shelving to pass some electric for some shelving lighting that I'll be using. And this is just to give you an idea of exactly what I'm doing here. It'll all make sense once we get a little deeper into the project. So here I'm putting this on the opposite side because this wire will actually daisy chain over to the other side of the shelf. Now I'm ready to start joining these pieces together, and here I'm joining the two sides of the cabinet to the bottom shelf of the cabinet, and I'm using this clamp to help me to keep things together, and I've got two heavy objects on each side just to stabilize the sides for me. These pocket holes really do make it very easy to join these pieces together. You can also use wood glue between these joints with the pocket holes to have a stronger joint. In order to space my shelving out, I'm going to be using these guides here. And what I did here was I drew an arrow to show the direction in which I need to place these pieces of wood here. And I'm just going to prop this right at the left side here. And on this second piece, you're going to notice that this arrow is pointing upwards. So that's the direction that I'll be putting this one on the right here. Now these two pieces of wood are exactly the same height. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my shelf right on top these two pieces of wood. And this will ensure that my shelf is sitting nice and level. It eliminates all the guessing work and makes it extremely easy to get the same height and spacing between your shelves. Once everything's all lined up, I'm able to now drive in screws right into the pocket holes. Once I finish securing my shelf, I remove these spacers and I place them right on top of this shelf, and I'm able to rinse and repeat and then put in my other shelf. One other thing that I want to show you here is when I use the spacers and I get my shelf in place, I also use this clamp once I have everything in place, so it prevents it from shifting out of position. Finally, when I got to the top, I'm able to now fit this shelf right in between and clamp it right in place. You'll notice that I didn't use any spacers here, and that's because I deliberately made my top shelf smaller than all the other shelves. And this is just a design that I prefer because I wanted the bottom shelves to have a little bit larger space to hold comforters. So I'll have to rely on my clamps to keep everything together. Now it's time to install the back of the cabinet. I find that the easiest way to do this is to just lay down the cabinet flat and just drop the back right in. And this is going to be a little bit of a tight fit, but you can just grab a rubber mallet, give it a couple taps at the edge, and it'll start slipping right in. Once this drops fully down there, you'll be ready to secure it with some screws. Keep in mind that there are multiple different ways to build cabinets. This is just a particular method that I like to use to build cabinets for storage in closets. If I was building cabinets for kitchens, for example, it'll be different from this type of build. So here now, I'm ready to slip this right onto the platform. And I've got to tell you, this cabinet is really solid and heavy. And that's a good thing. That means it'll last for a very long time and it'll be able to hold a lot of weight. Just watch me struggle a little bit just to get this thing moving. After I muscle this into position, just take a look at how it sits on this platform. And here you can see that I have it braced up against this opening. And this storage cabinet spans the entire length of the opening, so it goes all the way up to the top. Here I'll be using an 18 gauge Airstrike brad nailer, and I'll include a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. And here I've got loaded in here 1.5" 18 gauge brad nails. And this will allow me to secure this cabinet straight to the framing of this opening. I'll also work my way all the way down to the sides until I get the entire length of the cabinet secured to the opening. Then I'll secure the bottom of the cabinet all around the platform. The great thing about these brad nails is that you can barely notice them. For the bottom of the cabinet, I'm going to be building this 2x4 piece right in front to line up with this cabinet. And the reason why I didn't include this piece into the framing first was because I wanted to be able to adjust the cabinet to where I wanted it to be. And here I can see that everything is level and goes flush with that piece of wood. It's time to use the framing nailer again, and here are the nails. And this is how you load it up into the gun, just in case you guys are wondering. You want to make sure that you slide it straight up into this and then pull this all the way down and then locks in place. And I always load this with the battery out. Remember that safety always comes first. Now we're going to use this framing nailer and secure this piece of wood straight to the platform. Here is the lighting that I'll be using today, and I'll include a link in the description so you guys can check that out if you like. I'm going to be installing 2 support brackets here that come with the lighting kit. And I'll be putting one of these cabinet lighting in at each shelf. So here I'm just going to snap it into place and then continue working my way down. So each of these lights actually connect to each other in a chain until it gets all the way down to the bottom. Here is how I connect these lights. I'll use this short extension that comes with the kit, and I'll connect it to the first light and then feed this piece through the hole and then connect it to the next light. And I'll continue to do this until I get all the way down to the bottom. When all is said and done with the lights, you can see that I use some wire management here to secure all the wires neatly all along the sides of the cabinet. I also connected the power source to the switch of this closet, so once I flipped the switch and all the lights in the cabinet turned on. So this is all set to go with our lighting. Now we're ready to add some trim to this cabinet to make everything look nice and finished. We'll start with some trim in the bottom. First, I'll need to cut away a little piece of baseboard in the back in order to make space for this trim. I'm going to use this oscillating tool here just to make this plunge cut, and it's going to be able to remove this nice and easy. Now I'm able to slip this trim right into position. You'll notice I have 45s cut on one end, and I'll just secure this straight into this platform. No matter how much you try to make this as tight as possible, sometimes you might have a little gap, but I could fill that with caulking later on. Now here I'm using 1.5 by 3/4 inch trim to go right up against the edge of this cabinet. And I'm using my brad nails to secure it straight to the cabinet. This gives it a nice clean finished look, and it also hides the wires for all my lighting because 3/4 inch of this trim actually overlaps. I'm now gonna install pieces of this same trim straight across the middle. And you'll notice that this almost completely hides all the light fixtures. So all you really see is the lighting. Once all these trim pieces were in position, this is how it turned out. And this is starting to take shape really well. Now I'm gonna cover this little gap in the back on the left side. And this is just to finish off this piece here on the side and give it a finished look as well. I'll butt it up against the bottom trim and secure it with some brad nails. I've also installed 2 pieces of strips at the edges at the top of the cabinet. This will prevent anything from falling in between creases. I then installed some quarter round all the way around the bottom and secured it with the brad nailer. Now it's time to fill in all the gaps and creases with caulking. And here I'm using white caulking that is paintable. Keep in mind, you want it to be paintable if you're planning to paint this. And I'm going to be painting the outside of the side of the cabinet here white. It's amazing how much of a difference caulking all these gaps and creases makes. It just makes everything look nice and finished. Take a look at this edge here, how well the caulking just goes right in between this gap. And I'm able to easily just work this in with my finger and give this a nice finished look. Detailing really does go a far way. After caulking everything, I was able to slap a nice fresh coat of paint on the side of the cabinet, and it blends right into the wall. It creates a continuous flow all the way through the closet. This is the way we started out, and as you can see, this needed a lot of work. And in the back there with all that damage, we definitely needed to do something there. And this is how it looks now. We've got 2 brand new closet rods with some nice space there. And we've also installed a spacious storage cabinet here for the closet. And we can put a lot of linen and some comforters, whatever we want on here. And it's also quite amazing how lighting can transform a space. The wood grain on the wood just pops right out. This little area that I renovated now connects to the entire part of the closet, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to get more videos like this one. And I'll see you guys on the next one.